Basically, all rules was what I would
Yeah,
take
yeah.
away.
I read the script and I said yes instantly. I couldn't put it down. I had never read anything like it before. I thought it was a very fearless, funny, very relatable, weird script that was one of the rarest opportunities that I've ever gotten as a performer.
I'd lived with this character for so long, and I was struggling to find anyone after looking at so much material and so many contenders for the role, anyone that could really hit on this specific thing I was looking for, which is, you just know intuitively when you found the right person. And I saw literally a 2-minute clip of Radhika's work after somebody recommended it to me, and instantly I was like, this person is fearless and committed, and I just knew then she was right for the role. And then when we started working, it was an absolute joy of how she brought this character together, because again, how fearless she is to go to very strange places and fully immerse in the character and almost disappear herself in a way, just because her intention was to bring this person to life. And she's very funny.
That definitely came across, I would say.
Sometimes unintentionally funny in real life.
आपकी शक्ल को क्या हुआ?
Night only.
Definitely, one of the great unexpected things is the very dark humor. Was any of that improvised or just kind of like what came out with your personality in general?
To be honest, 99.99% of everything that you see is there in the script and everything. They're probably like very tiny, minor things that I would have probably brought. One of my friends who saw it recently pointed out, I go from the ticket counter and we do that bum roll.
With your bum, yeah. That's you.
And I was like, that was me. That was it. So,
That's
but
good.
to
That's one
answer
of my
your
favorite
question,
moments.
everything was very, very pre-designed, and it was there. The humor was all there, written by Karan.
Going back to the bum roll, we were so in sync with each other. Look, all this stuff is about having your intention set, and if you're both solid, if like the two main collaborators on this, the director and writer, are so unified on the intention, then you can improvise and do stuff very quickly. Like when she did the bum thing, she just did it. I don't know if she did it in a rehearsal or you did it in a take.
No, I used to rehearse on my own, and you used to watch me, and they used to be like, you do that. Like, yeah.
So that's it. It didn't require much thought or like discussion in a sense, because we were so intertwined. It's like, oh my God, yes, like she embodying it, and all these things are coming out.
I wanted to ask a bit, Karan, about, you often explore the themes of an outsider's perspective. What made you choose a newlywed Indian wife's perspective for your first feature film?
I get caught up on like forensic little things and moments, and the whole thing spun out from this question of what happens to someone in an arranged marriage, a traditional arranged marriage, when the guy traditionally goes to work, and what happens that very next morning. And my brain sort of thinks like that, like what happens in that sort of moment that's possibly forgotten or skimmed over in people's memories or even in stories. In a sense, this is a film made up from scenes that would have been cut out of another film. It was what happens to her and what does she do if she doesn't have a domestic bone in her body. She's kind of stranded in a completely new environment. And then it's sort of with also the constructs of the marriage, the city, the sort of little neighborhood they're in. So it all sort of spun out from that.
I wanted to ask a little bit about the role of Uma. There are definitely a lot of, as you mentioned, scenes where you need to be fearless. Was there one that was particularly challenging?
Well, I know the scene you were scared of, and then in rehearsal, everything flipped for you and you realized how playful it was.
Yes.
We can't quite talk about that scene.
The one where everything changes. I was very stressed about that scene, actually, because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. And it's the funniest scene. I think it's my favorite scene.
It's my favorite
Yeah,
scene.
I was just telling actually a friend of mine who came over that day, and I was like, that's my favorite scene. It's
I remember coming up to you when we were shooting that, and I was not blowing smoke or shitting. I was like literally just like, as if somebody had whacked me with a hammer, and I was like, you are Buster Keaton reborn, like literally.
आप दुखी हो?
भगवान ने थोपड़ा ही ऐसा बनाया
So can you, Karan, speak a little bit about the eclectic soundtrack and how you came about working with Paul Banks of Interpol as the composer for this film?
Yeah, I mean, the music is so important to me and the texture and tone of a story. And I guess my approach to filmmaking in a certain way is more informed by music and rhythm than, conventional approaches to structure. And I like putting things together that shouldn't go together. And a lot of this music should not be, if you follow the rules, wouldn't, on paper at least, wouldn't look like they would fit in this context or in this culture. But the film is a cultural collage in a sense, and I like that. And I love being like a cultural magpie and picking up these little things and putting them together and then creating a new meaning and context. And Paul Banks, I mean, Interpol's one of my favorite bands. And through some mutual connections, we reached out to see if he was interested, and then we met and really got on. And noticed that we both had a similar approach to looking at art and could talk in abstractions together that would make total sense and actually be productive. And so it was one of my biggest joys is working with him and building this relationship. We keep saying that this one was like our laboratory because I'd never needed this much score before. He's never done a score. It was our lab. So I'm really excited to what we do next together.
So just one last question for both of you. Can you please both share each of your personal takeaways from the movie?
I'm the wrong person to answer this.
Oh.
Radhika, you're smarter at this.
No, don't be silly. My personal takeaway, because I'm a part of the film, is I think how we worked, and I think just to trust your body and working more with my body. And I think what that gave me was that I don't think anything else can beat that, to be honest.
Basically, all rules is what I
Yeah.
would take away.